How did you go about figuring out what the average home brewer would need for capacity?
Yeah, so there's a lot of factors that go into that. Depends on what your ambient temperature is going to be. If you're going to have it inside in a room that might only be 65, 68 degrees or something, you're not going to need as much cooling capacity as you would if it's going to be out in your garage somewhere. It might be 80, 90, 100 degrees, I don't know.
Welcome to Florida.
Or if there's humidity, the sweating can make it much more difficult to bring the temperature down.
Insulation?
Yep, whether you're putting a jacket on your fermenter and how well it's insulated, but there's some good baseline numbers that you can consider, and I wrote them down here. For instance, for a 5-gallon fermenter, if you had 5 gallons of wort, for cold crashing, you'd want 350 BTUs per hour. But just for fermenting and maintaining fermentation temperatures for like an ale, you'd only need 50 BTUs per hour. And then if you're maintaining a colder lager fermentation, you might want 100 BTUs per hour.
And that's for a single 5-gallon?
That'd be for a single 5-gallon. Now, if you scale it all the way up to a 1 barrel, which is another factor that's involved, if you're brewing half a barrel of beer or a barrel of beer, you're going to need more chilling capacity. And with that, at a 1 barrel, reference number here is you'll need 1,500 BTUs per hour to cold crash a 1 barrel fermenter. And that's where you might start to limit it. If you're doing a couple 1 barrel batches, like this chiller can handle it, but you're not going to run 4 or 5.
So let's talk a little bit about cooling capacity, Mike. How did you figure out how much cooling capacity you even needed?
Well, first of all, I'm not an air conditioning guy. I have no clue. I live in Florida. I just want my AC to work. But I started doing research and going down that rabbit hole. I found the BTUs that I would need to get it kind of down into the lager temps as quickly as possible, knowing that I would never need that much power all at once, because who's going to do like 6 brews and drop them all at the same time? I knew I was going to be safe. And I did consider other systems at first, because I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, I don't really need that much BTUs. But then I started noticing the efficiencies, and I'm like, well, I'd be stupid not to go and do something that's going to not only meet my needs, but exceed them slightly. The system it has plugs for 6 systems, and I kind of joked to John earlier, is I could easily throw 8 or 10 pumps in there and I know I would have no problem. I don't have to worry. And I would rather have that product that can exceed my needs a little bit than barely meeting them. Because if it barely meets it, there's going to be times that I would regret my purchase. And with the Blichmann system, I don't regret it at all, because I've yet to exceed, I don't think I've exceeded half its capacity. I've had 5 systems on it so far. I haven't been able to top it out at 6 or go to 8 or 10, but eventually I'll get there. But yeah, it performs. As I'd mentioned, I don't feel hardly any heat coming off of it. It's not very loud. These are things that if you look at a do-it-yourself, you expect tons of heat, tons of noise. I don't have any of that. I mean, you got to stand right next to it and pay attention to hear it. The heat you might feel on the hairs of your leg, but it works. And like I said, I'm not an air conditioning guy, and I know anybody out there looking to buy a system is going to go Google research how much BTU, and there's going to be different people, and I joke about your mileage may vary. Some people say you need this much, some people you say, but those numbers, if you take the average, you're going to be in that ballpark. That's why when you mentioned, hey, you want to be between this and this, I'm like, good, I'm in that range. I didn't know I was supposed to be there, but I'm already there. Yeah. You want something that's going to exceed your needs at least a little bit, because you never know what you're going to do tomorrow. You never know if you're going to all of a sudden have a friend come over and say, hey, can I brew this, but I need you to use and you'll get some new friends. Hey, can you help chill my beer down and keep it fermenting in your glycol system? Yeah, it's going to happen. So, but yeah, and I have yet to have that, but I have a few people that are tapping at the door, and I know it's coming.
Yeah.